going on, everyone? So Kevin Durant and the owner of the Nets, Joe Tsai, sat down and Kevin Durant reiterated that he still wants to be traded, that Kevin Durant no longer wants to stay with the Brooklyn Nets, even though Brooklyn has caved and done everything they can in favor of Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving, right? I mean, they got rid of the coach because Kevin Durant didn't want the coach. They hired Steve Nash because Steve Nash is a KD guy. And now the reports are out that Kevin Durant gave the Nets an ultimatum. Per Shams, Kevin Durant says, I want you to trade me or I want you to fire Steve Nash and Sean Marks. So trade me, even though I am a guy that basically came here, underperformed, did everything to just restructure this team to my liking. You've caved into everything that I've asked you to cave into. And now I want you to get rid of Steve Nash, who got hired because of me, and Sean Marks, the GM. Like, what point do the Nets and the owner, Joe Tsai, just say, all right, enough is enough, cut your losses and move on, right? I mean, firing Steve Nash, I don't think is the end of the world. He's only really there because Sean Marks and Kevin Durant connections. He hasn't shown that he's that coach that can make great adjustments and be a quality NBA head coach. So no loss there if you were to fire him. Problem is what's next? Say you fire Steve Nash. Say you even fire Sean Marks, which Sean Marks is a Joe Tsai guy. Like, that's why he got put in the position, because of their connection. So does he choose his guy and Sean Marks over Kevin Durant, or does he choose Kevin Durant over Sean Marks? And then it's like, what's next? What are you going to do next? What is KD gonna use a trade request to demand the next thing? It's like, at some point, you got to say, we gave you everything you asked for and then some. And yet you keep spurning us, and why are we going to wait around and allow you to continue to do this? Sean Marks, there were talks of a contract extension, and then all of a sudden you hear the reports of like, oh no, he might actually be fired over this situation. And it's like, what? Really? And now you see Kevin Durant wants him gone. Kevin Durant wants Steve Nash gone. And it's like, okay, yes, in some circumstances, you choose your star player, right? You choose your franchise guy. You go get a new GM, you go get a new coach. Problem is you've gone through this already several times because of Kevin Durant, and he's going to want to leave. Eventually he's going to just say, I'm out. And it's not like you won a championship or you made it to the Western Finals and you lost in a tough 7. Like, they have won one playoff series during the time that he's been there. One. And yes, he was a toe on the line from, facing the Atlanta Hawks, which they probably would have ran through and then been in the NBA Finals. That's a possibility. But in reality, it's like, how long are you going to continue to just cave into Kevin Durant's demands before you say enough is enough? But the reason I'm talking about this on a Lakers channel is because this is good news for the Kyrie Irving trade, right? Kyrie Irving, we saw the Brooklyn Nets posting all over Instagram. Kyrie Irving at his charity event, and all the Brooklyn Nets were there, and people were like, oh, Kyrie's staying in Brooklyn. But it's just a weird coincidence that for the first time they posted Kyrie Irving, it just happened to be 2 days before they met with Kevin Durant, right? And the whole point of meeting with Kevin Durant was to try to get him to rescind his trade request. And it wasn't like you posted Kyrie in a Nets jersey and was like running it back or anything like that. You're talking about a charity event in Brooklyn, or right outside of Brooklyn, and the Brooklyn Nets team is there. But have no images of Kyrie like hanging out with the guys or anything like that. It's like Kyrie playing, Kyrie off, Kyrie taking pictures, signing autographs, kissing babies, and then like all of the Nets players are like hanging out together. Like, it just looked like, hey, we need to show that we're in on Kyrie, so maybe Kevin Durant stays. Well, now Kevin Durant still wants out. And are you going to cave into all of Kevin Durant's demands? And then what? You have no guarantees you win. You don't know if Kevin Durant is going to be bought in. You don't know if Kyrie's going to play. It's just an absolute mess. And if you're Joe Tsai, as the businessman, as an owner, like, he knows when to cut your losses and move on. And I think we're going to see that. I think Kevin Durant is going to end up getting traded. I think, it's very likely, could be rather quickly here, because do the Nets really want to go into training camp with Kevin Durant, with Kyrie Irving, with Ben Simmons, and you just have your three main guys you can't rely on? You can't trust Kyrie Irving's going to show up and play. You don't even know if Ben Simmons is going to play. And now Kevin Durant wants you to blow up the entire team and the entire organization for him. And you still don't know if he's going to come in and give you 100%. It's just like at some point you got to say enough is enough. So if Kevin Durant's gone, I just don't see a scenario where they say, okay, KD's gone. We traded KD. Let's say they trade him to Boston, right? They go get Jaylen Brown, Marcus Smart, Derek White, and 3 first-round picks, right? Okay, do you really want to keep Kyrie Irving with your new team and your new roster? Do you really want that headache in the locker room? Like, do you really want to run the risk of what's to come? And then if Kyrie leaves because KD isn't there, you get nothing for Kyrie Irving? Nothing? You don't even have the money to replace him? Like, no, I just don't see a scenario where that happens. I think what's going to happen is Kevin Durant's going to be traded, and I think Kyrie Irving is out the door too. And the only place Kyrie Irving can go is to the Lakers. Like, the Lakers are the only team that wants Kyrie. And so I wouldn't be shocked if Sean Marks trades Kyrie first at this point, because he knows like what's going to happen. And he knows that Kevin Durant wants him gone. And like, there's no way Sean Marks isn't aware of this stuff. Not just that, there is no way you can keep Sean Marks and Kevin Durant. There is no way you could keep Steve Nash and Kevin Durant. So you really have to make a decision. And it's like Kyrie doesn't want Steve Nash there. So if he doesn't want Steve Nash there and KD doesn't want Steve Nash there, you got to get rid of Steve Nash. Okay, like I said, not a big deal, right? He's not the greatest coach ever. You're not firing a Phil Jackson over here. And if you look at the GM, Sean Marks, it's like, why would I fire my GM who has basically been my guy, who does and conforms to whatever I ask him to, and try to go get a new guy that is still going to be in the same position as Sean Marks? That at any moment, Kevin Durant could say, I don't like him either, get rid of him. Or at any moment, it has to trade Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant. Like, it makes no sense if you're the Brooklyn Nets to keep Kevin Durant at this point. You cut your losses, you move on. And then by doing so, you got to trade Kyrie Irving because you need to get something back for him. If Kevin Durant isn't on the roster, why would you want to keep Kyrie Irving with all of the other guys you got? It just would be a disaster. So you cut your losses and you move on, which they could still get pretty solid return, right? If the Indiana Pacers deal is still on the table, and let's say they do the Celtics trade for Kevin Durant, like I mentioned, right? Jaylen Brown, Derek White, Marcus Smart, and like 3 first-round picks, right? So now you got your guys for the future. You got a pretty solid core to build with that are competitive. But with Kyrie Irving, if that Indiana Pacers deal is still on the table, you could just go to the Lakers and say, hey, tell you what, you go do the Indiana Pacers deal, and then you're going to reroute Miles Turner to us. We're going to do a 3-team deal. We want Miles Turner. You take Buddy Hield. We'll send you Kyrie Irving, and then all is right in the world, right? And now, if you're the Brooklyn Nets, you have a team of Marcus Smart, Jaylen Brown, Seth Curry, let's say, or Joe Harris, if you want more defense. You have Ben Simmons, and then you still have Miles Turner, right? Like, that's a pretty good starting 5 defensively, offensively, and you still have Derek White. You still have Seth Curry or Joe Harris, whichever one you don't start. You still have Patty Mills. You still have TJ Warren. You have plenty to be competitive in the Eastern Conference. You're still a playoff team. You're probably just as good as you were last year, if not better, right? And you're younger. You have potential for the future. You could grow and build around your young core. Like, it would be a great position to be in if you're the Brooklyn Nets. Like, that's a solid alternative to Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant, who haven't done anything. They haven't proved anything. Kyrie Irving ends up going to the Lakers, where he gets to be happy. LeBron gets to be happy. Everyone's happy. Kevin Durant gets to go to Boston, and be on that team, which back in, 2017, he was actually supposed to go there. He had a meeting with them. The Boston Celtics thought he was coming, all that stuff, however you shake it, I think Kyrie Irving is gone. I think Kevin Durant is gone. And I just think it would be foolish for Joe Tsai to choose Kevin Durant over Steve Nash and Sean Marks. More so Sean Marks than Steve Nash, right? The coach is always the casualty that has to go. So, again, not really a tough loss there. But it's what you're doing again for Kevin Durant. It's like, what is next? What are you going to demand from me next if I cave into this? And, Joe Tsai, he's not a guy, he didn't get to the position of business that he's in to where he's owning a team to not have control over his own team, to not be able to, say what he wants to do rather than what these players want to do. He's a businessman. He's cutthroat. He knows what it takes. He knows you make a bad investment, you cut your losses and move on. That's just how it works. And I just don't see him saying, okay, we're just going to get rid of everybody. I mean, maybe he does, but I think it's silly. Like, oh, you're going to do it to keep what? To keep Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant that haven't been able to do anything or prove anything for you? And Joe Tsai has expressed his unpleasantness with those two and has even talked about, I'd rather have a 40-win team than the team I have now, basically. I just think Kyrie Irving going to the Lakers, Kevin Durant likely goes to Boston because I think they could put together the best package currently. And so I just think that that's kind of where we're heading. I think that's a matter of when, not if. Obviously, the Nets will probably try to explore and re-engage in trade talks for KD and kind of see if there's anything else out there. But I imagine, this time next week, we should be seeing some sort of traction, some sort of trades. Expect some new reports and things to ramp up. We also, in the Tsai KD report, there wasn't anything about Kyrie. I imagine they had some conversation about Kyrie, but this likely just happened. So I imagine we'll get some new information. But anyway, as always, this is a discussion, so I pass the question on to you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comment section below. What do you think? Do you think, KD, Kyrie, they're gone. Kyrie's going to the Lakers. This is great news. They're going to end up trading KD wherever he goes. Even if they do keep KD for a while, let's say they're like, we don't like any of these trades, let's end up doing it. I still think they trade Kyrie because if they wait, say, till the trade deadline, you lose all your leverage and tradability in Kyrie Irving. Unless some other teams randomly come out of the woodworks, which I don't think so, because now you're renting Kyrie for 3 months. I just think you trade him now because the Lakers are going to give you more now than they will at the trade deadline. Because at the trade deadline, two things are going to happen. Either the Lakers already made a trade for Russell Westbrook to where they might not be able to trade for Kyrie, or they are good enough to where they're a playoff team and it's let's just ride it out. We can get Kyrie for free. Why would we give you 2 first-round picks and whatever else? No, that's silly. If you want a couple seconds here, you could have a couple seconds. You lose all your leverage. Or the Lakers are terrible again and they're not in the playoffs. And at that point, you might as well just wait for Kyrie Irving, right? Because you're not making the playoffs anyway. Cut your losses, figure out which players are staying next season. Go and let all the money fall off the books and get Kyrie for free. I don't see a scenario where Brooklyn wants to keep Kyrie Irving. They got to trade Kevin Durant, and unless they cave in his demands. But it's why? What is the point? But we'll see. We'll see how it all develops. Again, however you feel about it, let me know down in the comment section below. That being said, hit that like button. Helps me out a lot. Lets me know you enjoy these types of videos, and I truly appreciate it. If you're not subscribed to the channel, hit that subscribe button, followed by the bell notification. Stay up to date with all things sports. Join this wonderful community and all of our discussions. I'll see you all in the next one. Thank you.